Let's go to the phone lines. We've got on the line Dean Peacock, the co-founder of Sonke Gender Justice. Good morning to you, and thank you for joining us here on ANN7. First and foremost, your reaction to 6 years handed down for Oscar Pistorius.
Good morning, Abigail. You know, 6 years is a long time to spend in prison. I've spent time in South Africa's prisons. They are ghastly places in desperate need of reform, and so I think we should understand that that's a long period of time to spend in prison. I think it's a reasonably fair sentence. It certainly is below the minimum that the state was seeking. But I think, what's important in this case is for us as a society to take seriously the lessons that we learn and have learned over the last few years as the case has wound its way through the courts. And that is, we have a massive problem of men's violence in South Africa, men's violence against women, and also men's violence against men. Guns are a major part of that problem. Our laws around gun control are not well implemented. We have, lots of legislation that will make it hard for men who are the most at risk of using violence against women to, in fact, use a gun. And we, together with Gun Free South Africa, have called on the police to properly implement the laws around gun control.
Dean, with regards to the message that this sends, with regards to gender-based violence, what do you think this may mean for gender-based violence in South Africa and the message that it sends as well?
Judge Masipa was very clear that this is not a case of domestic violence. And I think, the evidence, we don't have clear evidence that this was a case of domestic violence. We do, on the other hand, have clear evidence that domestic violence is a massive problem in this country. And fully 1 in 5 women who are killed in South Africa are killed with a gun. So again, guns are a major problem in South Africa. We need to get them out of the hands of people who have demonstrated a willingness to be abusive or to use guns. What we at Sonke have been pushing for, together with many civil society partners, is a comprehensive, coordinated plan by our government with the necessary money from Treasury to address domestic violence and sexual violence and all forms of gender-based violence. We don't have such a plan at the moment. We have some of the highest levels of gender-based violence of any country in the world. And shockingly, we do not have a national plan to address gender-based violence. Treasury has not set aside money for a plan, and we've been calling for that for the last few years. So we will continue to experience high levels of domestic and sexual violence. We will continue to be outraged by it, and that won't stop until we have a plan.
Dean, looking into the future, do you think, in your opinion, obviously, this judgment would be helpful as a guideline for other courts in similar cases?
I think the sentence was important in sending a message that you can't arbitrarily shoot into. You can't use a gun in the ways that he did, knowing that it's likely to kill someone and expect to get away from it. So that's a very important message. And I welcome that message. Our organization welcomes that message. It's not obviously enough to address the bigger problem of men's violence against women. And we know lots about what is needed to address men's violence against women. There are many effective violence prevention programs that need to be implemented urgently. There's no shortage of evidence pointing to what is effective in preventing violence.
Just lastly, Dean, before I let you go, let's expand a little bit on South Africa's knowledge and education on gender-based violence. What do you think South Africans will make of the general perception of gender-based violence? Also, are we educated enough when it comes to issues of this nature?
No, we're not, unfortunately. Our life orientation curricula is supposed to make sure that learners in school understand these issues. They're not well implemented. We don't have a national campaign of any sort to address gender-based violence. We don't have many billboards or public service announcements on radio or television. And we have a pervasive culture of blaming the victims of domestic and sexual violence. And so, unfortunately, we're nowhere near where we should be in terms of public education about domestic and sexual violence. And critically, we're nowhere where we should be in terms of a government plan to address it.
Well, thank you very much, Dean, for your time this morning. Appreciate you chatting to us. That was Dean Peacock, the individual from Sonke Gender Justice, co-founder there, Dean Peacock, just chatting to us about the issue of gender-based violence. We do know Judge Thokozile Masipa saying that this case is not one of gender-based violence, but Dean just chatting to us there and asking questions whether South Africans are educated enough. His answer simply is a no. But stay tuned. We're going to continue this conversation here.